This is Between Hooksets. I'm Jason Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Kurt Underhill from the fishing crew.
My brim looks like crap. I hate it.
Okay, first of all, it's flat, but I think you always have them, and it's over here.
It's not. It's straight on my head, and it goes like this, and it's weird.
Oh,
but whatever.
You could be Nick Munt. Doesn't Nick Munt always wear his off to the side?
Does he?
Right, from Bone Collectors? I think so. Yeah. If I remember.
Well, I'll be
I have a mayfly that got in here.
I'll be the crooked.
That's why it looks goofy because you're sitting here doing this. Ollie. You know what
I was working on the credge.
Yeah, you got to be careful there. Hey, I want to do this real quick because we talked about this, and Rob, I'm sorry, we're going to bring in just a second or two later here because I want to play this real quick video from Casey. This is the young guy, the 14-year-old that I gave my Equinox 600 to, and this kid is blowing it up. Watch.
Oh my God, it's a coin. No. Oh my God. No, dude. Oh my God, it's seated. It's seated, dude. Oh my God. Dude, no. Oh my God.
Yes. I don't know if he'd get mad at me because I added that or not, but that was an 1877 coin that he found out in the dirt near where he lives. And this kid, you want to talk about a successful situation, giving that kid my my metal detector, and then to have him go and absolutely blow it up like he did and find stuff that I think that probably it's got Dan Spengler confused. You know, it's amazing. It's just fun to see the kid be that successful. You know, like we've said, he's going to be the youngest Oahe or Okobojo historian. I think it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, I wanted to do that. Wanted to get that out there real quick because Casey's a great kid. We're
gonna have to have him on later this winter when we're done with fishing season. We'll have to have him on.
Yeah, we definitely do. Speaking of having people on, why don't you bring Rob on and let's get to this thing. Hi, Rob.
How we doing, buddy?
Good. How we doing, guys?
Oh, we're doing all right.
Great to have you.
Appreciate you having me.
I love the background.
I do too.
You couldn't get the boat in the kitchen?
we got a gift certificate for that. So, and luckily, because we only had one truck out there.
I suppose yeah, right. There's not much you can do. So let me throw this up quick. So is this your boat?
No, that's one of Max's traveling partners for NWT.
Okay.
Andrew Vaughn. He did us a hell of a favor.
Oh, that's right. You know what? I don't know where to start with you guys because hey, Lance. I mean, where do we start? First of all, I want to know how do you end up fishing with Max Wilson?
I run a bait shop in Green Bay for you guys. It's actually in De Pere, so just south of Green Bay, on the Fox. I'm sure you've heard of the Fox River.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I run a seasonal bait shop there. Just like as soon as the ice is out, and then usually through the middle of April, specifically for the walleye run. What's that?
Are you the trailer bait shop on the Fox River?
That's me.
Okay, yeah, I've seen your posts. Like literally, you have like an enclosed trailer that's a bait shop. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've been doing that 13 years. It's Swamp Donkey Bait and Tackle, and that's how I met Max.
So now that makes sense because my cousin Pat sent me a text and said, "Hey, do you know Swamp Donkey? Do you know this guy that won a tournament in South Dakota or North Dakota or whatever it was?" You know, and I'm like, Rob Korth. He's like, well, how did you know that? I'm like, well, I don't know, because I follow tournaments, and it was in South Dakota. And I said, so hook a brother up. And by God, he did. I don't know how he got to you, but I'm glad he did.
Doesn't your cousin golfs with the owner of the company I work for, correct?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, and were you at the weigh-ins?
Yeah. No. No.
Okay.
I was not there.
Well, I messaged. It's funny. I messaged him because to take Monday off because we had a 17-hour drive, and then he asked if I knew you, and I said no, and then the podcasting came out because he golfs with your cousin, I believe.
Yep, with Pat Evans. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big deal in Green Bay. I mean, he's in his own mind, he's a big deal in Green Bay. But he's a fun little fella. I'm not kidding you. But so it's just kind of funny how things come together, because I was thinking about getting a hold of you guys. I've got Max's phone number. Last time I sent Max a text and called him, he never answered me back. I get it, busy, whatever. And I just wasn't ready to. Hey, Tom. I wasn't ready to try to bother Max because I thought he'd be busy. Well, then all of a sudden, here comes Pat, and I'm like, okay, this is meant to be. Hopefully Rob will have time to join us, and boom, here you are.
Appreciate it.
So let's go back to NTC. So people that don't know, you have to qualify to get there. So you can't just sign up for this tournament. It's a qualifier only. I sent, I think, a dozen guys down this year, and we had a pretty good showing, but you guys took out second and third were my guys that I sent there. So I was sorry I was rooting against you a little bit.
That's all right.
I sent my guy, so we had a pretty good showing, but explain to them like how you guys qualified, and then let's get into your interesting tournament.
So Max kind of touched on it on stage. We fished the Sheboygan Walleye Club locally here, and that's how we qualified. It started last year. We ended up taking Team of the Year. We started out with bad luck in that as well. I think it was the first tournament or second of the year. He had some issue where it wasn't the alternator and it wasn't the battery, but something wasn't triggering the motor to even turn over. So it was out of mirror net, and he looked at me and he said, "We're fishing." And we trolling motored out to the mouth, and I think we scratched out like 13th place. We were disappointed because we wanted to make a run and bring in a big bag, but after that, it kept rolling, and we got Team of the Year and got our paid entry fee through that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you guys qualified with a paid entry fee, so no entry fee to go to this, and you didn't probably even know where you were going at that point, because I will pick on the NTC a little bit. I really hate it running tournaments that I've got to throw special fall tournaments because my boys don't like to travel. Most of our guys, if it comes to South Dakota, they're going to go fish it. But if it's not, they don't go. And It's kind of a pain in the butt. Then when 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when it came to Mobridge, I sent 28 teams up there from one tournament, and I had to put a special tournament on in the fall to make that happen. And, so you didn't even know where you're going when you might have by the time you won it, but when you were in the pot, you had no idea.
Right. We did a similar thing here when it was on Green Bay because so many people wanted to fish it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we could pick out, like I've told Jeff, I said, announce it in April.
Right.
And people can, start qualifying in April. I don't know why we got to wait until, last time when it was here, it was announced in like July. And I'm like, the Cup Cup's over. Like, we're done. Like, we don't have anything to qualify for. So everybody wanted to go. We built an event, and it was a good event. And yeah, but it's just like, see, when you sign up to fish these side pots or sign up to fish tournament, you have no idea where you could be going.
Correct.
So you guys qualified through that. Then basically the year wait, 8-month wait. What is it? I know Max has been to Lake Francis Case out of Pigstown with NWT, but I'm guessing you've never been there?
I've never been there until now.
And coming from Green Bay and the Fox River, it's a little bit different.
It is. Yeah. And with Max doing the NWT, the time frames were, I think, within a week. And I don't remember if it was a year or two ago. But that helped a lot. And I watched that NWT coverage over and over and kind of had an idea on the weights. Max had a, really good idea on the weights. It was fishing, from what I was told and saw compared to the NWT weights. It was fishing a lot better. Weights were up. than when they were there last time. And I was hearing that from, when we were at the bar, Thursday, Friday night, just talking to people, everybody was kind of saying the same thing.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I don't.
last year that lake fished like crap. Nobody could figure out the fish. It was crazy because we had our biologists on the show and they're like, we're scratching our heads because our nets are showing, and they're like, this is a typical biologist statement. Our nets are showing well. They're showing like it's a good fishery, but the angler, satisfaction is not showing this, like not even showing the same thing. And they're like, we've always had that where, nets show well, angler satisfaction is a little lower, but he goes like, it's in a different book. And I was nervous for the tournament down there because it wasn't looking good. And this spring it turned on.
We were talking about 51 pounds to win it after day 2. I'm like, it's going to take 51 pounds to win it no matter what. And they're like, wow, that's a lot for Francis Case.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of thought what Max's, opinion, and based on the NWT weights, that like 13 pounds was going to be the cut. And that ended up being, I think it was like 26.11 was to make the cut. So that was pretty close, and then based on practice, we had, 14 to 22 pounds. So we figured, to win it, you're going to need that 15 to 17 pound range, a day. In my head, I kind of thought, somebody always gets them. But I was kind of thinking like 15 a day, 45 pounds. And then, like you said, when I saw 51 pounds ahead of us, I was like, wow.
So you get out there for the first time. What day did you guys get there to start practicing?
Max had ants in his pants like normal and wanted to get out there early. I had to finish up work, so he went out on Wednesday, and then I came out on Friday. So our first day together was Saturday.
And that was the first trip. So go through your, like, we kind of heard it, but now that everybody watched the weigh-in, so we want to let everybody know the story of what happened.
So we fished 2 or 3 spots, and then going to our 3rd or 4th spot. He didn't say anything right away, but he could tell that something wasn't right with the motor. I mean, when you run your boat enough, you know when something's not right. And he shut it down, and we were kind of coasting into a bay, and it was like shaking. And he's like, I hope it's the prop. And we trimmed up the motor, and there's nothing wrong with the prop. And I'm like, so he had the same thing happen about exactly within a week, a year ago. His power head went out. I said, grab the prop and shake it. Hopefully the hub's just loose, or maybe we'll get lucky. And it ended up being the power head. So I kept my mouth shut because it's not my boat, and I know the frustrations and stuff that go with it. So he looked at me and he said, we're fishing this damn tournament. We're going to win it. And he doesn't say that a lot, he's confident, but he doesn't talk shit and fabricate things. So I said, okay. So he also, the light bulb came on, and I knew he had somebody in mind to call, and he was on the phone with them, and he's like, we're going. And we literally put it on the trailer and drove back to, for you guys, like the north of Milwaukee area in Wisconsin, Campbellsport, dropped the boat off, drove up to Bemidji, grabbed a different boat. He wanted a boat that was set up similar to his. That was a huge part of it, because he's so in tune with his boat. And then we drove back. So we missed all day Sunday, and then we got on the water late. I would say like 10:30 on Monday.
So you went from Piggstown, South Dakota to Campbellsport, Wisconsin to Bemidji, back to Piggstown.
Yes. It was rough math, like 1,661 miles, like 1,700 miles.
And that's all in between. That's no figure. You'd already driven half of that to get to Piggstown, and then you do all that in between, and then come back and practice. And yeah, and so did you have other problems too?
No.
Okay, so that was the big problem.
Not that I remember. A few headaches.
Nothing was a problem after that.
Right. Yeah. No, everything went pretty good.
So you guys,
I would guess you kind of calmed down and settled down after you got in another boat that was working, and you're obviously you were able to make it work, right?
there's a lot of people that call you a dork tonight, by the way.
Yeah, right.
One's probably Max, one's probably JJ.
Lance Bussy and Mike.
Okay. Here, speaking of JJ, what's up with this? Will you message me? I really enjoy seeing all these posts and would really like to get to know you better. I'm only interested in meeting new people. That's funny.
Yeah, he's a good buddy, and I met him when NWT was on. Him and Max and a couple other guys stayed at my house. He's a good dude. He won that's JJ who won the last NWT.
Yeah. So you guys, you it's like the House of Champions if we stay with you guys, right?
Yeah, well, I'm close enough, and we like to cook out and have a good time. So a bunch of good dudes.
I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic.
So you guys make the trip. So you were here basically like 20 hours, and then you're on the road back to Wisconsin.
Correct. Yeah, and the fish were biting too, which it's like, I mean, everything goes through your mind. You're like, what do we do? But just like in Marinette, Max said, we're a few choice words, but we're fishing this. And at that point I was all in. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, well, you can stay, because we had a couple guys staying with us. You can fish with them. And I was thinking it before he said it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to learn anything different, because they, half the group trolled and half jigged. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave you drive that long by yourself. I know he would have did it, but we got in the truck and got him a Red Bull, and we were on our way.
And about 100 miles an hour pulling the boat trailer down the highway, because that's what I'd have done.
We were, we were close to that.
Minnesota's the one thing that slowed you down. Is what's the speed limit in Wisconsin? Is it 70 yet?
No.
Some of it's like the main interstates are 70, but there's a lot of 65 yet. South Dakota, obviously, there's a lot of 70s, so you could haul the mail there. But yeah, you got in the cities or near the city, and you get that traffic. You get anywhere near there, and it's horrible.
Yeah. So you get back down there to start practicing. Did you find something the first day of practice that you knew was good, or was it like starting over? You might as well have came on some Monday.
No, Max, he checked a lot of the stuff that he fished. Some of the stuff he used in NWT, and some of the stuff that, he didn't and wanted to check. And like I said, a lot of it to him was fishing the same, but better. And he just said, you're going to have a lot of fun. They're biting. So we didn't, we kind of went in scramble mode, because we were losing a whole day, because the bite kind of changed a little bit. And I think it's mainly because of the pressure. I mean, there was boats everywhere. But some of his stuff that he did well on in the past, there wasn't a lot of pressure. And I think that's where the key to, coming out on top on this whole deal was.
Yeah, I mean, you got to check your different. I mean, pressure is really going to drive those fish, especially how small that body of water fishes.
Right.
Yeah, that body of water, it's skinny, it's long, but it fishes small.
Correct. Yeah, and I like the deep trees and stuff. Those were getting pounded. We caught good fish in there. We were talking to other guys that did well on them, and there was a small tournament. I think a 35 boat tournament. One of the days, I don't remember if it was that Saturday, but I guess like 16 pounds won that. So like 2 3/4 pound average, but that was 6 fish. So we kind of knew from that. And those were some local guys that knew the water. I think Max knew one of them that won it. And so we kind of had a good idea, of what we were going to need, from there. But then we got into an area and 2 different areas and caught some unicorn fish.
Yeah,
you got to have some of those, right? I mean, you have to.
Yeah,
we got a question. It says, why not trust a local boat shop? I'm guessing in that moment, it was like, give me a new boat, and the power head's gone.
Yeah, I mean that is a good question because I didn't even think about that till now. Max was set on getting a boat that was set up like his, and a power head's a huge job, so the Mercury trailer really wasn't an option at that point. I know like Dewey and Tyson, they had a water pump hose come off on day 2. We ended up bringing Dewey's roommates brought him halfway, and then they waved us down, and we brought him in the rest of the way. But that was a simple fix. It was kicking the motor into Guardian mode, but the power had a huge job, and we would have lost several days. So I didn't even think about it till that comment now.
I mean, in that moment, I'm guessing that was probably it. Like we don't, let's get another boat. It's not about not trusting a local boat shop. It's more of, we're in tournament mode. We got to get back on this water as fast as we possibly can. And if he already knew it was probably a power head, he knew it was going to be a couple days before they could fix anything.
Right. Yep.
I would guess it's not like the local shop's got an extra power head laying around. Dusty, I don't, he's a mechanic. Maybe he knows more than we do, but that was a damn good question. I wouldn't even have thought about that. I get the whole story about Max wanting a boat set up. It comes down to being confident and comfortable, right? You get into a boat that runs different, works different, that is completely different, and it throws your game off. I would guess it's got to throw your game off.
Well, it 100% did, and I give Max a ton of credit. Because he's so in tune with the live scoping deal, and this boat was drafting different. It's lighter, and I could tell too the nose was moving around more than his boat does. So to deal with that and the frustrations of that when you have a no call tournament and like the shit that happened to us on the water, like it was wild. I mean, I give him a ton of credit for dealing with it because I've done it before. Something happens and you borrow somebody else's boat. It's just not. And then if the motor doesn't start, I thought about that all day. Like, we don't know. We can't call anybody for help. We can't call the owner to say, hey, it's doing this or it's not doing that. What do we got to do to get going here? And he ran us through all of it, but how it is in the moment, anything can happen.
What was that? What was the conversations on a 1,600-mile car ride? I'm sure going it was pretty pissed off, but eventually it probably calmed down to where you just started talking strategy.
It was more of he was pretty, the way he was talking to me and everything prior to me getting out there, and then the brief little fishing that I had and saw, there was quite a bit of confidence. So it was more, like you mentioned before, getting back on the water ASAP and fine tuning some things. Cause, those fish did move a lot. And I think we had pretty consistent winds and raising temperatures, the heat. I think that had a lot to do with it, but it was getting back on the water and rechecking some things that he already, had found and figured out.
So did Target Walleye? I was just going to check and see. Did Brett get the juice from you guys? And do we have all the secrets on what it took to win this thing, or are they still secrets?
Some of it is. What do you want to know?
I don't know. You tell us what we think we should know, and we'll go with it from there.
Everything was pretty much the same as what you guys all do out there, and what everybody was saying on stage. Depending on the depth, it would number 7 or number 9 jig and wrap, a little bit of jig and crawler, but I would say 90. I mean, I caught some fish on plastic too, but 95% of the fish were on a jig and wrap. It didn't seem like the color mattered because we lost a lot of jig and wraps, so we started using colors that we didn't want to use for tournament day. I bought a couple $100 worth with me, And, on top of what we had, Max bought a couple boxes, just in case, and we had them shipped out. Because fishing those trees, that's all new to me. And he doesn't like it because you lose so much shit. But that was, I would say, 95, 97% jig and wraps. And when the fish that wanted to eat it, other guys will tell you that too, they ate it. But you had a lot of fish that come up, we called it sharking it. They would look like they were going to inhale it, and then they, swim a circle around it, and then they disappear. Or you're dropping on one fish, and then another one comes out of a tree and that you didn't see and grabbed it. Yeah.
I was hearing I heard from some guys that the number 7s were way more effective than number 9s. Like they say you cast a 9 at a fish and it wouldn't even look at it, and you'd catch a 7 and they'd smash it.
Yeah, like when we were out in like 90 feet, we both were throwing 9s, but like when we went to 15 to 40 feet, we were throwing the 7s. And then, I mean, he caught a pile of fish in front of me. It's hard, 100% honest. It's hard as hell to catch fish behind him, just because he's swinging the boat. Yeah, I caught small fish in non-targeted species, but with the boat swinging like that, I'm casting at every mark that I can see. If you want to get good at live scope, and you just fish in the back of the boat with him, because you're hitting targets at 40 feet at 4 knots, and it's wild. So, but yeah, I mean, the shallower we went to 7s, and then the deeper we were, we obviously went to the 9s.
Yeah, like I said, I talked to one guy and he's like, yeah, they must have been up shallower. They're like, we throw 9s, because that's pretty much on Lake Oahe. I don't even think I own 7s. It's all 9s living on Lake Oahe. And he's like, they said, well, 9s, they would look at it, but they wouldn't hit it. You threw a 7 down there and they would smash it.
Yeah, I don't know if we really noticed that, because like I said, like the shallower we went, we used and some of those, I'm telling you, we wrecked the bait getting it out of their gullet, because the front hook was in their gullet and the treble hook was just about to go in there. I mean, they just inhaled it.
Inhaling it. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they were pissed off then.
They were, yeah, some of them, and then other ones you thought were pissed off would, they'd come up and then they'd just sit there and look at it. It was wild.
It's hard to see that on live sonar, but it's damn fun to watch, isn't it? Even if they circle, if they come up, like you said, sharking, they circle, and you see that tail spin around and they go, to see that stuff, it's amazing.
It is. It truly is.
So did you guys pretty much focus on trees the entire time you were down there, or did you have any other spots?
Yeah, we fished from the dam up upwards of 50 miles, and we had several spots in between there. There were a few areas where there were some roaming fish in between the trees. It seemed like a lot of the bigger fish were in between the trees and not directly in them. And then there was a couple days that they would stay put, and other days he's up there yelling some choice words that we got some track stars up here. And, I know at that point, I know he's said that before, but they're, on the move, and they're extremely hard to catch when they're doing that. I don't know if that was the, raising water temperatures or, boat pressure or what caused them to do that, but it seemed like those real big ones. I had a 5-pounder in practice off a tree, but I would say most of them were in no man's land in between, just roaming around.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, I mean, that's going to be a Missouri River fish. They tend to roam a lot more than even like a red wing fish, or, that's what they do on the system. You talk to guys, nowadays with forward facing and how we're doing it now, they're just driving points, right? They're not even they got their key areas, but like the fish might be on this point one day and they might be 3 points down the next day or by afternoon.
Right.
And so
I kind of noticed that too. Like it seemed like when we had like a day or two of consistent wind, like blowing into a bay or an area, like those fish wouldn't be in the back. They'd be more towards the, towards the mouth of the bay. So I think they would stay in the bay, but they were sliding within it. And I don't know if that was, I haven't fished there enough. I don't know if that was wind related or what, but there was times we pull in and he dropped a live scope and, before I had mine down in the back, he's like, we're out of here. He's like, I'm not seeing them. And we burnt a lot of gas, doing that, but if the live scope's not showing you fish, there's no reason to fish there. Same with side scan or, any of your stuff.
I think that's the amazing thing though about live sonar. You can tell in an instant, there's no fish here. We're out of here. Side imaging, down imaging, it takes a little bit there. Side imaging, you're going by, but that live, if fish are, if you're stopped and there's nothing moving or you don't have the marks, it's crazy how quickly it happened to me last weekend. I'm like, well, hell, there's nothing here. And I left.
Right.
It
doesn't know how to lie to you. They're there or they're not.
It's crazy.
So you get through practice, day one of the tournament. You're practice is, you got nerves out of the way almost, but you're still in, like I said, a boat that you've never really been in before. What's your mindset going into day one? Like you said, where will the boat start? What happens if this happens? Like, how do we reset this? How do we do that?
Yeah. As far as what he was thinking, we both were excited to go fast. That boat was a missile. It reminds me of my bass boat, but we yeah, those things fly. I think we hit 69. So and we didn't mess with the trim tabs and the jack plate and all that because it's got a little more in it, we were told, but we just wanted to get the point A and point B safely and make sure that the live scope and everything was set up so Max could do his thing in the front of the boat. But we really didn't, to be honest, we didn't discuss day one. We just were going out there to fish. I would say we played it a little on the conservative side. I think we were sitting 10th after day one, but we both always agree, you can't win it on day one, but you can make yourself a lot of work for day two. And this being a 3-day tournament, you got to be. Go ahead.
If you go back and look at the weights, sitting in 10th place, you weren't very far out of. It was, we had a 17-pound bag day one leading it, but then other than that, it was like 15 to 16. It was all pretty tight in that area.
Yeah, it was tight, and the thing that I with what Max had did prior to me getting there, and then what I saw in practice, I knew if we could keep that pace, we ended up going higher each day. But I said if we can keep that pace, we're going to be right there. I knew the guys above us and around us were going to catch them, but to do that for 3 days in a row, 2 days in a row is difficult. And then I said if we can keep close to that, go up a little bit, that would be a perfect scenario, and we did, which surprised me.
Were you fishing in the same area as a lot of the top guys?
No. We saw Bo and Brody. We passed Dewey, but motoring. So, and then we were fishing by the shore too for day 2 and day 3 at the end of the day. I don't remember if we saw him on day 1.
Yeah,
so
no. For the most part, we didn't have a lot of boats by us.
Oh, okay.
I just kind of wondering if everybody's congregated in the same area or if you guys were all spread out everywhere.
Yeah, Max would know better because he recognizes some of those boats, but like the guys that were from Nebraska in second, Logan and his partner, we knew where they were because we were talking to them, but we didn't fish anywhere by them, during the tournament. but yeah, so Bashore and Bo and Brody, I believe his partner were the only two we really saw that I remember.
Them two kids are hammers. I mean, that
Wow.
Bo is something else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. What is Bo? Is he 18 now?
18.
He's so
I was
18,
told 18. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
and
18. He just
Brady's
graduated
what,
high
20?
school. 20th.
Brady's
Yeah.
20?
Yeah.
yeah. I got to
so-
talk to him a little bit after. Super nice kids too. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
super cool to see at that age and to be able to
Well,
compete
got
at that level.
Bo. Brady said like 2 words because Brady doesn't talk.
Hey, don't talk. But you know what? I'll tell you what. It was fun to see those boys in the hot seat. You know, because we're kind of thinking, you know, that maybe these guys are going to win it, and then you know, I guess we knew that Max was coming up next. I had never met you before, and I honestly hadn't heard your name before either. But that's a good thing because we get to have you on tonight and learn all about you. But I'm like, well, okay, Max is coming, and I've said it. You know, even when people were pissed at Max 2 years ago, you know, I'm like, honestly, whatever. Max can catch big fish. He finds big fish. He catches big fish. That's just what he does. You know,
He's a hammer. He's an absolute hammer.
So,
I was kind of, you know, I was at my wife's grandma's memorial service, and I had my nephews were all sitting at a table watching the final day weigh-in, and we're sitting there, and Brady and Bo weighed that, and I'm like, yes, that'll way to go, boys. But I'm like, you got 2 real big boys when you got to the top 3. I'm like, you got 2 real big boys coming up after you that could do damage on you, and one did. You know, you guys did. So
yeah, when they weighed in, well, Max was struggling day 3 for the last like 45 minutes, hour. I stood right next to him because a stubborn ass wouldn't stop fishing. We had what's called family night. He calls it family night. We went out with the boys the night before, and we'll just say he was dehydrated. And he doesn't have an off switch. So I was dumping electrolytes in bottles and bringing them up there and switch because he wouldn't drink them. I'm like, dude, you need to drink water because when you get heat stroke, you get sick and you're not thirsty. I said, you need to drink this stuff. And we already had our bag, but he wanted to get one more, and because we could have upgraded one more fish. We came in, I think, with 7, so we could have upgraded one, and ended up coming in like 25 minutes early because he's like, we gotta go, and I'm like, I was hoping. I literally stood by him because he was almost getting delusional, and I'm thinking he's gonna fall in the water, and we had some spectators by us, so I was thankful for that because then if something would have happened, I would have had help there. But I said, you need to drink some water. We got to get in. So he didn't, I don't know if he had his phone on, but I heard Bo and Brady weigh in, and I was like, ooh. So I opened up the app and I said, we got to have 1792. And I always tell him, I said, I don't want to know what we have on the scale. And I'm like, it's going to be close. So and then Dewey came in, and we knew he only had like 14, 15 pounds. So it was all a matter of ounces at that point.
So,
and that's what it took.
You know, we run tournaments, and I don't, the one part, if I could pick one thing, like I would block everybody off to bump their fish so nobody else could see them. Because a lot of times, you know, the guys, if they weigh in early and they're leading, they'll be over by the bump sink looking, you know, they do all that stuff. So did anybody have a clue, you guys or Bo, that you were going to take them out?
Bo weighed in early. Yeah. And then they were standing in the crowd. So I don't know. And I know Max bullshitted some of the guys he knew. He said, we're going to tell him we got like 14. But then, like you said, you put them in the tank in that, you know, that 6.5 or whatever it was that we had in there. And then by the other ones, you know, people could tell that we had a big bag. So, but I'd like to talk to Bo and Brady and see, but I don't know that they knew that, you know, the other guys that were in the, you know, the top 4 or 5 going into day 3, they knew because they're standing by us at the bump tank.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, I love the emotion on stage, and we saw it on stage. And I was guessing nobody, like between you guys and Bo and Brady, had no idea what was going to land on that scale. Because a lot of tournaments, like, when Dewey came up and he congratulated Max and he congratulated you guys and Bo, like I knew, when they were waiting to weigh him in, I knew they didn't have it. Like he'd already congratulated you guys, so, you just don't, that whole thing of sometimes the guys in the hot seat already know they're getting bumped.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. For the spectators and stuff too. But like, Dewey, that's the first time I've ever, personally talked to him in person. He's just a good guy, and I think that was just his nature to. But when I rewatched it, I saw that he came up and before they even weighed their fish and said, "Well, now everybody knows that we beat you," type of thing. But that's just his. Him and Tyson are super cool dudes.
They cut their teeth in the governor. Dewey cut his teeth fishing the Governor's Cup, our event, and I mean, so I know their mannerisms. I've been doing this 18 years, and them guys have been fishing it for, Tyson's been fishing longer than that. I can't remember when him and Dewey started teaming up, but the last 10 years they've been a force to reckon with. They've won four Governor's Cups in 10 years, and like I know their mannerisms. And when he came up and said that, I'm like, he doesn't have it. Like like he kind of gave it away, and I know he's a great guy. And he would thank you, congratulate you regardless. But like, I'm like, I just could tell by their mannerisms, they didn't have the weight to take the lead.
Right.
And which, like I said, I've known them for 15 years or better. So I'm, I know what they are. I know how they act on stage. I know what they do. I know where Tyson's going to stand, where Dewey's going to stand. Like, it's almost like a rehearsed scene every time,
and where Preston's going to stand,
yeah. But I mean, I was like, okay, they don't have it, but I'm just like, and it kind of, to me, like the rest of the people probably didn't realize it, but to me, I'm like, oh, like there's no, like there went the excitement, right? Like to me, I'm like, it's over. Like, I didn't know if he's going to have enough for second or what, but I knew he didn't have enough to take you out at that moment.
Right. Yep. I agree with you.
And so, I mean, now that you've been off for, 2, 3, or 4 days now, has it set in? I think, is this your first big one to win?
Yeah, it is. I talked to Max about that. He's like, it won't really sink in till you get home and put the trophy up somewhere. And I haven't yet because I was waiting for this, the podcast I want to have in the background and whatnot. But, I'm still getting messages and phone calls, and I drive a lot for work, so I'll be daydreaming and like, holy shit, I won the NTC. So no, I mean it's kind of sinking in. Yeah, that's an awesome picture. But maybe by the weekend we got another club event this weekend on the Winnebago system. So I mean, me and him haven't even really talked about anything, just kind of relaxing and taking it all in. And, he's had situations like this with NWT and whatnot. He's won big events like that, but this was, to see him up there teared up and hugging me and saying we did it. Like, I mean, that was, and then my wife saying, I asked her, she's like, yeah, I was watching, but I didn't want to stop watching. And I called the boys and told them Dad just won the big tournament. Like those two things stick out to me the most. It was awesome.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've talked to several guys that have won the Gov Cup or other events, and like it doesn't sink in for a while. Like it you got the high of the moment it happens, but then you're like, it really doesn't sink in for a little bit that we just did this. We beat 186 other teams and took it down.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at right now. It hasn't yet. I mean, I'm gonna enjoy it when it does, but people are calling me and they're like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" And I'm just kind of like, "Yeah, I like it hasn't really sunk in yet."
Does it put a new pressure on you now? You're going to go fish another tournament. Does it put pressure on you to have to win the next one and the next one and the next one, or you won one? What the heck? We'll just go fish the other ones and see if we can win them.
No, like the competitiveness in me, like it could be a game of bar dice or, a cornhole tournament or, fishing, the competitiveness in me, that'll never go away. To this day, I still dream about playing college football. I can't get it out of me. So every tournament, if we're betting a ice cream cone at Knotheads, which we had a lot of, or we're betting, there it is. There it is.
That is not an ice cream cone. That is not a dish of ice cream.
About the ice cream cone ahead of time, or what's going on here?
So we can talk about that. My wife saw that picture. My wife saw that picture and she said, "Holy shit, you ate that!" And it wasn't the only one we ate.
Oh my god, I know. I saw that. I'm like, I have to have it. So is it peaches? Is it peanut butter? What the hell is it? It looks good.
It was monster cookies, so it had a little bit of everything in it. And then one night I had cotton candy. Max found that bar before we got there, so we spent a lot of time. They had really good food, awesome service, awesome. And on a side note, the one night we were there, the family night, I think it would have been Friday night. I don't know, Nitty, a bunch of the other guys that he knew, the Nebraska guys were there, some teams from South Dakota. It was just a good time. Everybody was having a good time and networking and shooting the shit. Well, I didn't know that the bar owners were there, and the guy we were staying with wanted to take the Miller Lite bucket with the beers in it, and they said, no, you can't have that. And he goes, "I'll bring it back. I just want to take it." And they were adamant that he didn't. So Max said, "Here, let me rent it. I'm going to bring it back tomorrow with a first place trophy." Well, the bar owner, we walked in there after we won, and obviously everybody was gone except for us. And she had promised him prime rib dinner if we won. And so he brought the trophy back with the bucket on top of it, and we got a prime rib dinner.
That's fantastic.
I didn't know you talked to the owners last night. So
That's fabulous.
And I'll bring it back with a trophy. That's funny.
Yeah, it was. Excuse me. Friday night, we probably had a little more fun than we should have. My kid called me, and because he could see me on Life 360, and say, "You need to get your ass home and get a good night's sleep and get after it tomorrow."
Heard about fair play there, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned, I want to go back to Max real quick because I popped this photo in, and I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about Max too, because you said that he's go, right? Energizer bunny, but
Yep.
And no downtime, but he did take a little downtime, right?
Yes, yeah. And ice cream he wanted me to bring back to him. I think he woke back up and ate it.
Well, I would hope so. I would hope he ate it and didn't drink it, but
yeah, he runs it hard, man. I mean, even like on the trolling motor, there's a guy, Travis Steffen, he pre-fishes with us, and he's a good live scoper. Max kind of taught him how to live scope. He's damn good at it, but like Max, if Travis is going 1 mile per hour, Max is going 15, like to how he can articulate what fish is what, how they're postured, what they're doing. I mean, it's incredible. And I told him, I said, I wish I could contribute more and catch more fish in the back of the boat, like a river tournament or something where we're not using live scope. It's completely different, but I'm to the point where I'm, used to it, because that's why I call him Kirby, because he's like a Kirby vacuum cleaner. He, scoops them all up before you get there. But I don't mind netting them. Yeah, I don't mind netting them. It's just as much fun. Like those big fish on Francis Case, man, I'll see those in my sleep, the rest of my life, seeing them come up. Because we thought we threw $100,000 fish away on day 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had we had a 20 or a 6. I don't know how long it was. We had a 6, 2 or 5, and then the next, I believe it was the next fish was a 3-5, and we boxed it. The next fish was a 7, and then we had a 6 something, 2 5s and like a 4.5 the rest of the day. And all day long, like I just Max blamed himself. He's like, I kept a fish that's going to cost us $100. Or actually, I take that back. When he threw the 7-pounder back, we put her on the scale, took a picture with her. He's like, that's $100,000 fish, and I'm like, I've never been in that position before. So then on day 3, we had a 3.9 that we looked at each other and held for, it seemed like an eternity. Somebody filmed it, so it was probably 30 seconds, 25 seconds, and he tossed it over, and he all like for the next 2 hours until we caught a 4.25, I believe it was. He's like, I cost us the tournament, because he looked at me and he's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, in my mind, I was 50-50, but I'm like, let's go for it. And the spectator even yelled, F yeah, let's do it, So
go big or go home, right? That
Right.
seems to be
So
Max's thing.
you're not used to a slot tournament coming from Wisconsin.
No.
So what was that conversation? I know Max has fished a few of them out here in South Dakota, but you only have 2 over 20. Did you have a minimum going into the day? Like it's got to be, 24, 25 inches before we box it, or we're just going to box our overs?
Like day 1, we had 2 over 4. So then after that, like this day 2, when we had that 6, we were kind of looking at our second fish to average out to that, I think they were just shy of 9 pounds. The 2 4-pounders were. They were 4 and some change. So we were kind of looking at like, hey, okay, we got a 6.2 or a 6.5. Our next one we wanted to be higher than that, or average that out, because then we knew we could get to that, whatever we had, 15-10 on the first day. Yeah. We knew we could get close to that. So no, we really didn't have a size limit, because we weighed every single fish in practice. I thought he was going to hit me with his pole the one day I threw one back before he could weigh it. So that's how many fish we weighed, just to see where the good size unders were and the overs. Like Dewey and Tyson, they had some damn big unders. I think on day 1 or day 2, their big was like 24 inches. So they had some damn good unders going, and that's one thing we got them in practice, but then during the tournament, we caught so many fish that were 21, 20 and a half, 22 inches, that, little footballs, but it's like, just can't do it, Then an hour goes by and you're like, oh, and then he'd finally get bit, and it was a bigger one. That big one on day 3, he told me, he's like, this is her. She came up and bit him twice. And I was literally tiptoeing in the back of the boat, watching his graph, leaning over his shoulder, looking, and I'm like, come on, just please bite. I think it was 45 minutes later. We were probably 200 yards up the bank, and he said, I got her. And I'm like, you got her? I'm like, wow. Same fish? It's like, yeah. He's like, she buried down to the bottom, and it was just a blip. He could just see a blip, and he cast it at her, and she ate it. And when she came up, and she was I reached as far as I could, and when she got in the net, at that point, like, now we got a legitimate shot at this deal.
So you guys chased the same fish for 200 yards.
Yeah, it was. He said it was the same one, and I would, because I said, what do you mean? I mean, like 45 minutes went by. She bit twice right away, quick, and then maybe it wasn't 200 yards. It was between 100 and 200 yards, because I looked at the bank and I'm like, holy shit, we went a long ways. So
that's amazing. So she was following the snaps then.
And I knew, like, because she activated twice really quickly, and I'm like, that fish is gonna eat. Because he does that all the time. Like, he'll get them to activate, and then a couple minutes later, I got her. This is the one, he'll say, and I knew that fish would go, but that was the day they were being track stars, and they were swimming all over, and I like, maybe she took off, because we were.
He did, but he just followed it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was wild.
Shows
That's a
that
talent.
how in tune he is with his graph that he could follow that, watch her go down and just kind of kept with her.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that you don't, if you ever watch him, like the speed he goes, you see other people live scoping and stuff like Bo. He went fairly quick, and it's not even close to how fast Max was going. Like you would see Bo's bow swinging and stuff like that. But the way Max scans, how efficiently and quickly he can do it, it's mind boggling.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard like him and Tom Wynn. Like one guy was telling me you could ski behind Tom Wynn's boat when he's scoping. Like he's solid.
Yeah. There's been tournaments where I would run a crankbait off the back of the boat, where we're fishing big fish, but there's not a lot of them. I'd cast a crankbait as far as it could be on the boat and essentially troll in between spots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you gotta do something in the back of the boat, like you said, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I don't have the net in my hand, I got to be doing something.
Hey,
Oh.
Max, give me the leg core rod. What do you need? I'm gonna troll it. You're going to your next spot. Oh, well, that's great. I mean, that's a great accomplishment. It's a prestigious title to take down. I mean, you got the boys that had a two-peat back to back. Lance commented early on. I'm sure he was looking for that three-peat, but then you boys showed up.
Yeah, they're good dudes, and Max said to him, it was nice of you to give somebody else a chance to win this year. So those boys can catch them.
Well,
It's
it's this whole team championship thing it's different than fishing the National Walleye Tour because you're fishing the team, right? You've got two guys in the boat that work together very well, not one guy in the boat with somebody he's never met before. So you're talking about 187 teams that know what they're doing together. So
right.
It's got to make it a hell of a lot harder.
Yeah, and I mean, not to toot our horn, but if you looked at the All-American, the top 25, somebody brought it to our attention that we were the only Wisconsin team in there, which makes sense. Like if that tournament was over here, you'd see a lot of Wisconsin teams in it. But you're fishing against locals that know that water, like when the wind changes or tide changes, temperature changes, any of that stuff, they know where to run and hide and still be able to catch them. So it was a good feat, and the knowledge obviously that Max had from NWT 2 years ago, helped a ton, but he still doesn't know every nook and cranny on there, like some of the South Dakota boys.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a very popular area to fish. I guarantee you that was Bo Schilling's first time ever on the body of water.
That's awesome.
He lives in Akaska, South Dakota, where the 2 state records came from. He doesn't have, I mean, the best walleye fishing's right out his back door,
Right.
He's just, and Tyson, I don't know. I mean, Tyson may have been down there for a Platte Chamber tournament. Dewey's been down there, but I would say most of the guys have never been, there's been guys who've been down there once or, but never, that's something they're not fishing very often, but they're used to fishing. Same thing. They know the river. They know this. They know that.
Yeah, it's a weekend warrior lake.
He feels okay that you get to keep the trophy in Wisconsin.
His house. Yeah, that's all right.
And he'll be going hard for it next year.
Scott's they probably want visitation just because I think they should have a 3-peat.
that would have been awesome for a 3-peat. That would have been something.
Yep. That would have been very cool, but it was cool. You guys won. It was honest. I don't think it was a surprise to me. Brady and Bo. I wasn't surprised, but I was pleasantly excited. And you always have to pick Dewey and Tyson. But then you've got skippers. Justin and Lauren. They're starting to fish a lot better. they're doing Josh Moret, Tanner Thompson, Mode. You know, there were just a bunch of guys there in that top 15 to top 20, and really the top 25. Daryl Peters, you know, finishing with his daughter 24th. You know, that was amazing too.
Right.
So it was a great top 25. It was a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, there was a lot of good sticks in there, and look, we knew that we would do okay, but I mean, we were just hoping to get in the, you know, obviously you want to win every tournament you fish, but reality is that's not going to happen. So we were thrilled, and you know, we knew we were going to do good, but you don't know how good when you're fishing against, you know, that many quality fishermen.
Yeah,
Well,
like I said on day 2, you know, actually it was after day 1 when I saw Bashore was leading. I'm like, oh crap, day 3 is going to be a nail biter. This is going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I saw
it
your
was.
post, and that was, yeah, I mean, and like Kurt said, we were sitting in 10th. I think we had 15-10 on day 1, and leaders had 17, and then I think second was 16. So I mean, yeah, you're talking, it was tight.
well, and that was, you know, I'm sure you didn't like it, but I really loved the fact that it was so tight that, you know, when Bo put up 50 pounds, I'm sitting there doing the math going, okay, he needs 17, they need 18, this guy needs 21, this guy needs 20. Like, it was so much fun to watch as a tournament director, because it, you know, and maybe not for you because it wasn't a blowout. I mean, it was a one fish difference.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like you had 25 pounds and you knew there's no way nobody's touching you.
Right.
You
And
know,
It was keeping that one right under, right? I mean, that really, that or the bigger big fish. But yeah, I love the fact that it was just that tight. That was exciting.
Yeah, and hindsight's 2020, but if we would have threw back that, and everybody can say the same thing because they had the same issues we did. But if we would have threw back that 3.5 on day 2, because that next fish was 7, we would have had like 21 pounds, and you know, that would have been a completely different ball game. So
Right.
I mean, there was, because that fish was big, like not Green Bay big, but from what I know, and from there, it was a unicorn. It was huge. And when he said $100,000 fish and threw it back, I looked up at him and I said, I could puke right now.
Yeah, right on.
And he's like, me too.
makes you want to throw up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
There was
that
confidence
like,
there,
that
though.
probably wasn't fun for you, but for the fan experience, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, they have such a lead, nobody can take this.
Right.
Or, you know, like, because we've had those events where you're like, oh, geez, he's got a 5-pound or 8-pound lead going into day 3. You know, nobody's going to, they're going to have to completely shit the bed, and everybody else is going to have a stellar day. It was tight. Like, it was tight all the way to the end.
Yeah. And when we got to shore, I text my wife, and because she always says, did you get on, what does she say? Did you get on the ones you wanted to? And I said, yeah. I said, but it's going to be ounces, because I figured, you know, 3rd and 4th was going to get them, and Dewey. So we really had, you know, we had 3 or 4 teams that it was going to be anybody's game, like you said, because, you know, a 13-pound bag out there is pretty average, and a lot of guys were getting it. You know, who was going to get the bigger bag? And then Bo had that giant bag, and then I was like, uh-oh, you know, we got our work cut out for us now.
Yeah. And you really didn't know that you were going to beat him by a pound till you got to that scale.
Right. Yeah. I tell Max, you know, like that big one he promised. I said, I don't want to know. He goes, you really don't want to know? I said, no. Because I'm pretty good at looking at him and telling, but I said, I don't want to know the truth. You know, I want a little surprise, because like you said, it was going to be so tight. I'm like, I want a little surprise myself when we get in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, even falling second is not a bad feat in that tournament, but it's always better to bring the hardware home and the big check.
yeah. And we putted, I don't know, 25-mile boat ride on the way back in, and all that went through my mind. I mean, you guys have been there. It's you know, hey, if we win, you get real high, and then it's like, well, take 2nd or 3rd, you get a decent check, but you don't want to be the first loser. And I mean, it was, and then he, like, I'm babysitting him because I left his truck running. I'm like, get in the truck. Like, and then all of a sudden he comes walking up with the fish. I'm like, because he was struggling bad, and I was getting pretty nervous because he's stubborn and wouldn't drink water and wanted to fish. But then once he got in the truck and started drinking water and stuff, he kind of came around. Then we went and got ice cream at Knotheads.
So the ice cream was the true trick, right? That was a true secret. It wasn't jigging around. It wasn't.
Hell yeah.
Ice cream at
Yeah. Yeah, he likes ice cream, and there was another guy in our group that loves ice cream. So we actually stopped for ice cream on the way to South Dakota, and it was kind of just a household thing. And I'm like, not at like the first night or two, I didn't know they had ice cream there. So yeah, we're going back.
They got a hell of a lot of ice cream there.
Yeah, that place is awesome. I don't know if they follow you or not, but their food was awesome, and the service was amazing there.
So where did you guys stay? I mean, that was a big question. I know we're over an hour, but where did you stay? Did you stay close, or did you have?
Yeah, we were mileage wise, I don't know, but we were under 5 minutes from the launch.
Okay.
Just up the road. It would be on the east side.
Yeah.
And I think the road construction's done, right? Because that was a pain in the ass a couple of years ago. Wow.
Yeah, we didn't have any by us.
No, okay.
Just some gravel roads, but it was an Airbnb that Max contacted the people he stayed with at NWT, and theirs wasn't available, or they weren't doing it anymore, and they set us up with these people. And the place was awesome.
What's the name of your cat?
Where's he at?
It was on the counter.
Oh, the orange one, that's Buster.
Buster,
right?
Okay.
My wife adopted 2 cats.
Oh, you gotta love wives in there adopting cats. Mine used to do that too. Yay.
Well, Rob, it's been great having you on. Congratulations. Well deserved. Way to overcome adversity. I mean, a lot of guys, if they'd had to drive back home, poofta. Uh-oh. Max chimed in.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
no, I appreciate it, and hopefully we can get back over there for something. I mean, everybody over there was great. Not just because we won and whatnot, but like I said, the hospitality was great. Everybody was, at the weigh-ins, people that we were weighing in against. Everybody was super friendly, and it helps. Max knows a lot of damn people, but
the donkle gotta have a okay. Quick, what's the story? What's the donk's story?
He just, that's what he calls me, from Swamp Donkey Bait and Tackle. And then he added the EL on there.
Yeah,
and he'll even tell you, he goes, I don't know why I say that, but I like it. So
it's good. I like it. It sounds good.
At the end of the show, because we could probably just been a Mac comment session.
And if you ever see me walking around with this, it's because he's always signing autographs.
That's what I figured.
I carry one of these when I'm fishing. If you rewatch the weigh-ins, I hand him a marker on the stage.
Do you? That's good. I like
autograph ball, Ricky Bobby.
Yep.
well, cross your fingers and hope that the NTC goes back to Mobridge. Then you can catch the mowing the lawn. You can go catch the big fish. That's awesome.
Signing babies. No lies, Max. You're outside of babies.
I love it. I love it. Rob, thank you much, man. It's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
We were able to connect. Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, take care. Thank you.
All right.